Hi there. So, the book we're reviewing today is entitled Chasing Bushido, How I Just Learned to Say Us. And it's by Richard Amos, a noted karate competitor and instructor. Just to explain the title, Us is a term used in some of the dojo and systems, and it's particularly used by university students, and it's a kind of universal word. It can mean anything. I understand, yes, I'm sorry, etc., etc. And it's very much wedded to a certain type of Japanese mindset of not making waves and just accepting what's happening. We didn't really use it at Yogi Dojo when I was there, and most non-martial arts / non-university people thought it was rather amusing when they heard it. Anyway, that's the subheading. So Richard Amos, the book starts with him as a schoolboy watching Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon and being highly impressed and wanting to model himself on that, and started to exercise his body in various ways. And then he finds a dojo in Chelmsford run by Charlie Naylor. Now, Charlie Naylor was one of the original Red Triangle guys from the real old days, and he moved down south and was a major figure in the KUGB. And his wife Dot was actually the instructor for the juniors. So Richard Amos was training under Dot. And he was full of enthusiasm and started making regular treks up to Liverpool and also to London, where Yahara Sensei was based. But the book does seem to concentrate more on going up to Liverpool. And there he met the famous instructors at the Red Triangle, Terry, obviously, Bob Poynton, rest in peace, and Frank Brennan. And one of the things he mentions about Frank Brennan was his impeccable manners. And I bump into Frank every now and again in town, and it's true. He is a true gent and a true role model of a martial arts instructor. And Richard Amos was so enthusiastic that he actually travelled to watch some of the tournaments in such places as Cairo, just as a spectator, and also Bremen. And in Bremen, he saw Master Yahara, who he was impressed with his kata. Unlike most exponents, even the top guys. Now, Shotokan is noted for kata. It has really beautiful, very athletic kata, very difficult, some of them very long, Kankusho and Suso, and very athletic, and very beautiful to watch. So you see one of the top competitors. You kind of hold in your breath. It's so impressive. But Yahara took it to a different level when he actually did seem to be fighting a group of opponents. It looked like he was in a fight, still within the bounds of the techniques and with perfect form. It was the kind of impression he gave. And so anyway, back in England, Richard joins the junior squad, which trains regularly up in the Red Triangle, and later competes a lot in championships and so on, and then is invited to join the senior squad, the national squad. Then he decides to go to America for a bit for professional reasons. But while he's there, he joins two dojo as well as a fitness club, trains there in Shotokan before deciding that really, to pursue his dream, he has to go to Japan. So he goes off to Japan and he joins two dojo again, Ebisu and the Hoitsugen. Now, Ebisu dojo was, it became the headquarters. The original headquarters, the Kwakuran, when we were there, that's where the JK headquarters were, and I visited there a couple of times. But Ebisu was the new dojo. It had been founded by Yahara Sensei. And I went there once with Terry, and it was a very memorable day because he'd been invited to do something with Kanazawa Sensei. And it was a day when we had meetings with a lot of people, and they were all doing us favors basically. And we were late for every one of them. Big surprise for Terry. I mean, really late. And we were on our way to Ebisu, late, but not too late by Terry standard, when we bumped into a chap called Frank Hargrove. Now, Frank Hargrove had lived in Japan for quite a while, and Okinawa, and he trained quite often at Yogi. He was very helpful to me. And we stopped and had a coffee with him, and it made us even more late. We finally found Ebisu, and they were very concerned because we were late. And Terry came up with some excuse about being lost in the station or something like that. And Kanazawa Sensei had sent guys out to the station to look for us, so that fell on deaf ears. Anyway, so that was Ebisu. At the same time, Nakayama Sensei was founding the Hotsugan, which was a stone's throw away from Ebisu. It was a new dojo. Never got to see that one. So Richard Amos is training at these two places. And while he's there, the prominent instructors are Abe and Yahara. So this was the guy who he was really impressed with. And he really, on both the fighting level and the kata level, was outstanding. Terry interviewed him many years ago for Fighting Arts magazine. It was one of the most sought after interviews because he went into the security business. He was what's known as a yojimbo, a bodyguard, which was kind of illegal in Japan. And he was the guy who was the intermediary between businesses and the Yakuza, who were basically demanding protection money. And he would go and basically given the gypsies warning, and because he'd fought so many of them, he used to go fighting around Shinjuku and places like that with the Yakuza. I think I mentioned this kind of activity before. He was feared, and this business built up, and he was probably a multi-millionaire. So a very impressive character. One of the things that Richard Amos did, he was invited to be the demonstration partner for Yahara, doing demonstrations at the Budokan and other big venues. So, I mean, that's quite an honor. So he must have been a really outstanding practitioner in his own right. So one of the things he did was he started teaching various fashionistas who were prominent in Japan. He got to know them through some sort of photography thing, and then got invited to train a group with them. So he sort of started a branch dojo for these people and really established himself in Tokyo. Had lots of different contacts and friends, which was good. He then, in the book, details the split in the JKA. Now, what happened, Nakayama Sensei died, and it's quite common in Japan, when the master dies, you get a split in the organization. I think it happened in Aikido. And I mean, going right back to the KGB, KUGB, it split from the BKF, which was the original association, and for various reasons it was decided to form a new association, a new organisation, and go our own way. I was actually at the original meeting in Manchester to set it up, and so right from the beginning that happened. Yahara Sensei, who was based in Utting, he split from KUGB and formed his own thing. Later on, Yahara Sensei left the JK and formed his own thing, and it goes like that. And when the split happened, I remember talking to Terry about it at the time. It was easy to predict who would go into which camp, because it's based on mainly on which university they attended. And if the one character was a very senior from that university, all the other guys who trained at that university would probably follow him. So anyway, there was this split. The book's got a lot of detail about it, without really insulting anyone. He tries to be even-handed, because these are all top guys at the end of the day. Just couldn't work together, and it's quite interesting. So that happens, and he follows Yahara. So another event is a big competition, a world match in South Africa, in Joburg, which he attends, and Kato from the UK is one of the organisers, and he really, out of everyone in the book, I think he really paints Kato in the most, shall we say, objectionable colours. I don't think he's got a lot of time for them. So back in Japan, he enters the All Japan Championships a few times. Some of this stuff's on YouTube. I had a look of it, and he's a very impressive competitor. Doesn't always get his techniques scored. When you're fighting in Japan, there's a lot going on. Anyway, he enters the famous JK instructors course, the Kenshusei, and details that. There's things go on. One of the guys gets his jaw broken, and the only treatments is they throw a bucket of water on him, tell him to fight on. This kind of thing. It's probably very, very brutal, without a doubt, and you have to question the purpose it's serving. It's turning out tough characters, but is that what an instructor's course is supposed to do? Nowhere really does it talk about them training how to present, how to put together lesson plans, how to analyze things, how to coach people. None of that's there. By contrast, I attended an instructor program in South Africa by the South Africans, and it was brilliant. I mean, they really taught you how to look at somebody, analyze what they're doing, how you improve them, and so on. That, to me, is an instructor course, and particularly for 3 years, which is the length of the instructor program. Maybe if you make it tough at the beginning, kind of weed out the no-hopers, and then start teaching them. Anyway, they've been doing it for a long time. And of course, they have produced some phenomenal instructors. Okay, so Ebisu Dojo closes, and he's given the task of clearing out a whole load of stuff that's been left behind, and a lot of it's probably of historical value. Probably all the grading records over the years, but they're just going to throw them out. But he found this sack with Nakayama Sensei's name on it, and it was movies, old 8mm and 16mm films. So he, at his own cost, had them processed and had a viewing of them, and it was amazing stuff. For example, there was the 1972 World Championships. Now, this brings up a point. When I was reading the book and I was making notes in my head about reviewing it, there was an anecdote about Yahara Sensei I was going to mention, but this is the time to mention it because it's actually mentioned in this thing about the film. There was a rumour that during the 72 World Championships in Paris, he does a back somersault as somebody attacks him. And the film proves that he did it. Now, I was there and I saw it. It's a thing I've always remembered, and I've mentioned it to a few people. It was the most amazing thing to see a guy in a top level competition do a back somersault, perfect control, land in a fighting stance and continue the fight. Amazing athletic and acrobatic ability he was able to incorporate into his fighting. The other film was of the 1973 Shotokan JK World Championships that was on while I was there, and I actually competed in it. So that brought back some memories as well. That was at the Nippon Budokan. So, some interesting stuff there. So he graduates from the instructor course, gets his certificate and so on, stays in Japan for a while longer and then returns home. Now the book, there's a couple of books I've reviewed already that have similarities to this, such as Moving Zen and Angry in White Pajamas. It's about gaijin who go to Japan to train. Now, Moving Zen was about training at the JKA headquarters in the 60s. Angry in White Pajamas was about training in Aikido, and this book is about training at the JKA headquarters in the 90s. So they complement one another. But I noticed a similarity in the way all three of those guys took kind of refuge in literature, in reading, in finding meaning in things to relate to how they were experiencing their martial arts training. I found that was very, very interesting. One of the things that Richard Amos does is explain very, very well the difficulties of living and training as a gaijin, a foreigner, in Tokyo. And he was there long enough, many, many years, to fully understand and fully explain it to us. He speaks fluent Japanese and explains a lot of the nuances, a lot of which was I was reading for the first time, and it kind of light bulbs went off in my mind from my much more brief stay there. So a terrific book, written by, it's full of enthusiasm, and it's a kind of a journey from a schoolboy right through to a top senior black belt and senior international competitor, and I recommend it 100%.